What's going on, guys? So I am actually outside of what might be our location for our store. I'm super excited. I'm not going to give it away because it might not be our location, but it's a good one. I got to thinking about something, and it keeps getting brought up to a lot of my clients and a lot of women I know about coming out of the show prep mentality. Maybe it's you're reversing out of a show, or maybe it's that you're just kind of easing out of the bodybuilding scene. I wanted to encourage you because it was tough for me to walk away from competitive bodybuilding. It became such a part of my identity, and it got to the point where that's the only way I knew how to eat. It's the only way I knew how to really live was for bodybuilding. And a lot of people fall into this, and it's not a bad thing. It makes sense because it's an extreme sport. The same thing can happen with diets that are extreme. Maybe it gives you a lot of results, but then all of a sudden you get to a point where you're not happy in it anymore, but you don't know how to live any other way. So I just want to drop some quick, I call them tips. It sounds like a boring word, but I'm going to let you know what worked for me, because if I had not allowed myself to step into the next chapter of my life, I would not be going around looking at multiple locations to open up my in-person coaching consultation business that's also going to provide meal prep for people. So instead of, working with the population that wants to get on stage and win a trophy, which there's nothing wrong with that, I found that I was being called to something outside of that. And it was time to move on to the next chapter of my life. And I want to help people from all walks, and I want to help more kinds of people. And really focus more on health and longevity. So that's where I'm at right now, and that's why I'm looking for stores that we're gonna move into. I'm so excited. It's gonna be called Project Lean Nation, and it's already established in a lot of cities. So feel free to Google it and see if you have one close by and go check it out. And if you guys ever come through Greensboro, make sure you check in with me so you can stop by our store. Okay, so here come what happened for me and what helped me. And again, the reason I'm filming this is because I keep hearing people say that they're having a hard time coming out of the show prep mentality or extreme dieting mentality. And again, I want to encourage you, if you're feeling called to do something different into a more balanced lifestyle, listen to that calling. Because again, I wake up every day and I'm really excited about what I'm doing again. And even though that's how it was for a long time with competitive bodybuilding, that came to a stop. And it's one thing to face a little burnout and push through the burnout. It's not always going to be fun when you're chasing your goals, but for that burnout to last over a year and me have a desire to do other things with my life, that's a calling. That's a calling in another direction. So if you're feeling that calling, honor that calling. Maybe you're being called to more balance. So the first thing I had to do is just be okay with not being who I've been. And easier said than done, but a practical way you can do this is anytime that ego starts to slip in and that shame, where maybe you look at yourself in the mirror and you didn't look how you once did, and you wonder, okay, will I even be special anymore? Will I stick out? Will people think of me the same? Whatever comes up for you, will I think of me the same? Will I lose respect for myself? Get your mind on something else, because that's going to pass eventually. The thing is, it's not going to pass if you keep thinking about not thinking about it. That's when that feeling grows. So shift your focus onto things that are bringing you joy. Not instant gratification, not sugar, not drugs, but things that bring you joy. The things you're feeling called to. It might be spending more time with family. It might be pursuing a new business venture. Or it might just be training in ways you haven't trained in a while, doing activities that you maybe didn't have time to do because you were so extreme before. Focus on those things. Focus on relationships with people. And I wouldn't even say this is a last resort, but a really quick way to do this is to get outside of yourself and help other people. So volunteer places, reach out to a friend and ask them how they're doing. That's the other thing about show prep and extreme dieting, is it tends to make us really self-centered, and because it's a selfish sport. So we're very used to focusing on ourselves and our own needs. So if you can shift out of that and start to focus on other people, not self-abandon, but just be there for other people and get outside of yourself, that's gonna make a huge difference. Other tough thing is food. That's probably the toughest thing is nutrition. You might feel guilty for eating things that weren't on your plan before. And again, that's going to take some time to come out of. So give yourself some grace, have patience, and eat those clean foods that maybe you were restricted from before that are fuel. Food equals fuel. Think about that over and over. And I know it sounds basic, but we got away from the basics when we were in this extreme programming. So get back to the basics. Food is fuel. View everything you put in your body as nourishment. So just ask yourself, is this nourishing me? Is this gonna make me tired lately? A lot of this is just getting back to the basics and the things that were working in the beginning before we went so extreme. There's also so many clean foods that I wasn't able to eat for a while, or maybe I was, but I always had to obsess about the time of day I was eating them. Enjoy your food again. If you binge, you know, the pendulum might swing. You might end up going over there for a while and eating a bunch of sugar and junk that you haven't had in maybe years. Give yourself grace. This pendulum effect will happen, and I did a whole video on this one time. And what happens is, you know, say right here is balance, and the pendulum takes us way over here when we're really restricted. And then we kind of have this rebound effect where we come way over here and we start eating all kinds of crazy stuff and going off the rails. And then we might come over and we reel it back in again. And then we go off the rails a little bit and we go back on our plan, get off our plan. And what you're going to find is this pendulum, even though it's swinging like this in the beginning, when you first start coming out of this mindset, it's going to eventually start swinging less and less. And it's going to be rare that you find yourself right here, perfectly balanced and in the perfect mindset, whatever that means. But the idea is you just want to be close to it. So that's what will happen if you stick with it. The biggest thing you can do is when you feel yourself shaming yourself, get your mind on something else and actively love yourself. So it might be affirmations. I know people diss affirmations a lot, but look, if you say them long enough, you do start to believe them. Your beliefs are thoughts that you think over and over and over again. So if you want to change your beliefs about yourself, you have to change your thoughts about yourself. So be intentional with your thoughts, and you can still find things that you're great at that build your confidence that don't have to do with extreme show prep or dieting. So lean into those. And with food, this is my most practical tip that helped me tremendously, that helps my clients who are trying to come out of shows and just live a more balanced life. Your brain is going to want to attach to perfection. So drop that. All you need to worry about at first is just hit your protein goal each day, because that's going to hold on to your muscle and it's going to help your metabolism the most. So that's just my 2 cents on that. If nothing else, just hit your protein goal for the day, and you save yourself a lot of stress because you're not going to be losing as much muscle, if any, and you're going to maintain, you know, gains as far as if you're walking during the day, if you're, whatever you're doing, it's going to help shuttle nutrients to your muscles. So, and help keep your muscles full. And again, we're not going for a specific look, but I'm just saying it kind of helps ease the anxiety. Protein equals gains. So if you don't want to lose your gains, eat plenty of protein. That's going to be the best macro for your metabolism, for maintaining muscle, for your energy, and for not adding unnecessary fat. So even though we don't want to think in extremes, we also don't want to let the pendulum fly all the way over here. And in society, it's really easy to find foods that have carbs and fats and sugar, but it's a little more difficult to find food that has clean protein. So that's why I say, if nothing else, hit your protein goal for the day. And don't worry about anything else for a long time. And then maybe you can gradually ease back into, okay, I'm about to go to my workout, let me have some carbs. Or, you know, I haven't worked out all day and I have the option of having, you know, some protein and fats or some protein and carbs. Have the protein and fats. You know, you can start to trickle stuff in there. And I just want to encourage you, it's going to take time. I know I keep saying that, but it took me a couple years to really break out of this. And I'm not saying it's going to take you that long, but I was also very deep into it. I was an IFBB pro. I had built my whole identity at the time around being a bodybuilder. And I felt like all the clients I had that I was coaching were with me because I was an IFBB pro. And I took a lot of credit away from myself. You're bigger than your goals. And you're bigger than this identity that you've made up in your head. That's just your ego. So just remember that. All right, I'm gonna leave you with one more thing before I continue my tour. Movement is medicine. The other thing about extreme dieting and show prep is you have a really regimented training routine. Regimented, or training regimen. You get what I'm saying. It's very dialed in. And when we go from that to, you know, thinking, okay, I've got now 45 minutes to work out. Back in the day, we would have said that's a fail. We've got to, you know, cancel plans with friends. We've got to get this 2-hour training in or whatever it is. But now we have the option of flexibility. So if you go to the gym for 20 minutes, that's going to be better than nothing. But your brain will tell you that doesn't even matter, because for so long that wouldn't have mattered. That wouldn't have counted because your goals were extreme. And so remember, movement is medicine. You are going for balance, health, and longevity today. So move your body. You do not have to go to the gym every day. You don't even have to go to the gym 4 days a week. Right now, I'm going to the gym 3 days a week to train. The other days I do power walks, I hike, and I go to yoga. Movement is medicine. So what's going to keep you in shape and active and healthy for the rest of your life is moving your body, not going to the gym and breaking it down day in and day out. That's fine if you want to do that. I'm not taking away from that, but I'm just saying don't discount yourself if you feel like, well, I can't go get in, you know, a real workout, so it'll be pointless if I just go to the gym for 10 minutes. No. Even if you can't make it to the gym, get outside and go for a power walk, because not only is it going to help your longevity and your physique, but it's also going to help you mentally. I promise you, I've made the mistake of that all or nothing mentality and trying to come out of extreme show prep and dieting, and I would just sit there and shame myself because I didn't time manage correctly and I didn't have an hour plus to go to the gym, so I wouldn't do anything. And learn from me that that's not reality. Like, that's not what's going to help you. Getting off the couch and going and doing something with your body, hell, I'm not exaggerating, even doing like 20 burpees is going to help you mentally, because you're moving your body, you're focusing your breath solely on one activity, and it's very mindful. So I hope this video helped. I know that was a lot. It was actually longer than I thought it was going to be. And that is my guidance to you from a person who built a career as an IFBB pro, coaching women and coaching people, many to the stage, to shifting into a lifestyle of longevity and wanting to help a lot more people with their health and with balance in their lives and with the way they talk to themselves. The list goes on. So I hope this video helped, and if it did, make sure you like and subscribe so you'll get notified for new videos that come out, and it does help my channel, and I always appreciate that. So I would love to hear your comments below. Drop them. You can follow me on Instagram and send me a message. It's Aubrey the Sculpting Coach. I always love hearing from people, and I'm taking on clients. So if you heard this and you're in a position where you're trying to reverse out of a show and you don't want to compete anymore, or maybe you've been in extreme diets and your relationship with food is really funky now, send me a message and we can talk. And then you'll also find me on Facebook at Aubrey Whitley. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a fantastic day. Love y'all.